Hello, viewers. You are welcome to another edition of Coding for AI, building an AI chatbot. My name remains Vincent Hope. Today we are on lesson 4, and in this video, we're going to be talking about how to build a knowledge base for your chatbot. How to build a knowledge base for your chatbot. Now, what is a knowledge base? Let's open this here. Building a knowledge base. A knowledge base for a chatbot is a structured collection of information that the chatbot can use to answer questions or provide responses. So, in other words, a knowledge base is simply a repository or a library that stores specific information that from which the chatbot can draw responses, draw answers, and respond to users' requests. It can be as simple as a list of frequently asked questions. If you go to you chat with your bank app, you discover there are frequently asked questions on the site. Now, a chatbot can be designed to already answer that, structure to answer that, or it can also be complex as a database. So, in the previous lesson, we learned about JSON files. We said you can use JSON files to create and store small structured data. You can also use SQLite or a database to create large and dynamic knowledge bases, which is KBs. Now, let's make progress. So that's what a knowledge base is. Let's make progress. Now, the step 1 to be able to create a knowledge base is to define your knowledge base. This will act like a lookup table for responses. So here we call the knowledge base raw knowledge base. This is what we call it here, equal to open braces. Now, these are the content of the knowledge base. What is your name? The response is, I am a chatbot created to assist you. The second one is, how can I help you? The response is, you can ask me anything related to our services. The third question here is, what is AI? The response is, artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence by machines. So these are the 3 content of this knowledge base, which you have to create. It now depends if you have frequently asked questions, you also structure them in this knowledge base here. Now let's make progress. So the first one is to define your knowledge base, which is what you will define. So all the frequently used questions should be stored in here. The second thing now is to normalize inputs. What does that mean? User inputs should be normalized to match keys, which could be lowercase, which will bring it to lowercase and remove punctuation if needed. We're going to explain that in detail, but let's look at the code. So first, let me run this. I run this. Okay, this one is run in memory now. Now, the second is you define normalized text. Define normalized in bracket text. Return text strip in brackets dot lower. That's make all of them lower, and we will now explain what normalize does. Now let me first run this. If I run this, you will not see any result, but it has been executed in memory. So now let's go down and see more of the details. Now, what is normalize? Let me open this better. Say this defines a function called normalize, which is what we did here, that cleans up any text input. What does that mean? It is useful when building a chatbot so that it can understand questions no matter how the user types them, either with capital letters or spaces. Now, if you look go back a bit, you discover that in our knowledge base, our raw knowledge base, the question is in small letter, the response is also in small letter, but the user may decide to type the question in a capital letter. I like to type, sometimes I like to make my the beginning characters capital, like what, I make it capital. Your name, I use Y capital, I use N here capital. Now, if you don't use this text, normalized text, you will discover you will have errors. So let's explain further. Now, why do you need it? Imagine user types, what is AI? Now let's look at what is here. You see that here is small letter, what is AI in small, but the user can decide to type what is AI in capital letter. The user can also type what is AI. You can see the question mark is close to the AI, which is still almost the same thing here. The user can also type full in capital letter, what is AI. Now, your chatbot should be able to understand this question, whatever the user types, and responds appropriately. So that is the essence of defining normalized text, return text string lower. Now, let us make progress, explain more. Now, these all mean that the same thing, that is all this tree, but Python sees them as different strings. So when we normalize the input to treat them the same. Now, to break down the function of the text strip in comma, which is what you saw here, the text strip here. Let me open this one bigger. Okay. The text strip, look, I'll break down the function text strip, removes any extra space at the beginning or end of the input. What is the input? The input is what is AI. There can be space here. You see a space here. It removes it. It removes any extra space. For example, you see that this is a hello. There's a space before hello, but it brings them together. That's what the return text strip does. Then just lower, what does it mean? It converts all the letters to lowercase. So if your person type in capital letters or uppercase, it returns it to what? To lowercase. Now let's make progress. Okay, so the whole function returns the cleaned up version of the text. Important. So normalize what is AI. Python returns it as what is AI. It removes the space, it changes it to small letter, and so that the system can read it as normal. When a user types a question, we normalize before looking it up in the Chatbot database, which is the raw knowledge base. So small changes in spelling or casing don't confuse the bot. Now, that is sufficiently explained. Let's make progress. Now, so step 3 now, after we have normalized it, we also have to create normalized knowledge base. What does that mean? And how do we use that code? We use it, say knowledge base equal to normalize K, which will explain that, column V for K, V in raw database dot items. Now let's explain what we just coded here. Now, for K, comma V in raw base, for raw base item, we want to explain this code here. This means go through each key, which is for K, and value in the dictionary. Let's take the example. It was noted here. Okay, we type the key here is what is AI. The value, which is the response, means artificial intelligence is blah, blah, blah. So if you normalize it, it means that it's going to go through each of the keys or each of the questions and each of the values and normalize it, change, remove the spaces, remove the capital letters, and bring them normal. Now, the same thing here, K, how can I help you? And the value is you ask me anything, blah, blah, blah. Now, this creates a new version of knowledge base where all questions or keys, the questions are keys, are cleaned up using the normalize function, which you see here, normalize K function you defined earlier. Now it makes all questions lowercase and removes spaces. helps the chatbot match user questions better. It's a cleaner, smart version for your original dictionary. So that is what this function 2 will also do. Now let's make progress. So we have, let me run this. I think we run this. It's still run through. Then we come to step 4. Let's run it first so that we don't forget. Then we explain it. Now create the chatbot function. You have to create the chatbot function. Now you define the chatbot open function. Now definition of the function: print chatbot hello, ask me anything, or type exit or quit. This is what it will print out before it starts chatting. Now while true, user inputs equals to input your inputs. If user input in lowercase in is exit or in exit, then you quit it. Print chatbot goodbye. That's if the input is exit or quit or exit, type goodbye, then you break. Now break. Now query means check your database or search your database or sieve through your database, equals to normalize user input, which is what we define here, response to knowledge base, get query, I am sorry, I don't know the answer. That means if the query or the question is not part of the keys or the questions asked in your knowledge base, which we have seen previously. What is the knowledge base again? The knowledge base has 3 questions, 3 keys. What is your name? How can I help you? What is AI? If any of them that is asked by the user is not within this knowledge base, you are now telling Python or the program, you are telling the program to say, I am sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Then you now print the chatbot response. That is step 4. So you create the function, which is what we just did here. Then finally here, you now run the chatbot. Now when you run the chatbot, let's run the chatbot. We run it here. Okay, you can see now it first printed this chatbot, hello, ask me anything, or type exit to quit, which is what is here. And it's under the instruction here. Now let's go straight to what was here. We have the first question is, what is your name? Question mark. It says, I am a chatbot created to assist you. Let us see what it gives us as response. See, it is running now. Okay, let's say the same thing. What is your name? Question mark. I press enter. Now it says, I am a chatbot created to assist you. Let me use capital letter and say, what is your name? Question mark. Press enter. Yes, now you can see that both these tests can be give me the same response because they have been normalized. Now let's take the second input of the chatbot. Okay, it says, how can I help you? You can ask me anything. That is the response. So how can I help you is what we're going to enter in the chatbot here. Okay, small letters. How can I help you? Question mark. Press enter. It says you can ask me anything related to our service. Let me give space. Use capital letter and type, how can I help you? Let's see whether it can normalize to. And you press enter. It will say you can ask me. So give me the same response because it has been normalized. Then the final question we asked, which can be a frequently asked question, is what is AI, it says artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence. So what is AI question mark? What is AI question mark? So let us type it there. What is AI? You put the question mark, press enter. It gives me artificial intelligence is a simulation of human intelligence. If I use a bigger character, what is AI? Question mark, press enter. Now it has given me the same responses. Now, these are the three things I have in the knowledge base, the three keys or the three questions with their response. Now, supposing I ask a very different question that is not here, I will now say, what okay, what is the name of what is the name of what do we say of okay, let me put another question. What does artificial intelligence really mean? And I put a question mark. This is a new question that is not in the dictionary. Let's press enter. You can see this response. I am sorry, I don't know the answer to that. Why? It is not stored or is not in your knowledge base. Let me type another question. How are you doing today? How are you doing today? Question. And I press enter. It says, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that. Now, quickly, let me add one thing to the knowledge base and see if it will help us. Okay, we have quite a comma here. Let me take one of the questions here. Let me just copy it and just change it. Okay, copy, and I add it to the knowledge base. I press enter and I paste it here. Okay, let me say, okay, how can I help you? Let me say, tell me more. For example, I remove this, tell me more, no question mark. And I say, okay, artificial intelligence, let me just say helps you, for example, helps you. Okay, and I remove this. I have added this to the dictionary. Now I have to still run it from the beginning. I run this. Okay, it's asking me for a pending input. Sorry, let me quit it here, or else we will not be able to see the response. Let me type exit here, press enter to close. Exit, say chatbot goodbye. Now that is the exit. Now I want to run this from the beginning. I click run. Okay, I come down here, I run each of them, run again, run. You have to run each and every one of them on the spaces, run. Okay, if I come here, I run this. I can run all of them together and I run my chatbot. If I now say, which is the new to tell me more, but just since I didn't put question, I press enter. It says, see now, artificial intelligence helps you. So the new content I added has produced a new answer because it's now stored in my dictionary. So if I want to quit it, what do I type? You type exit, which is what the code here. I simply type exit and I press enter and it says goodbye. So this is how you create a knowledge base for your chatbot so that it can interact with your users or consumers or customers. I hope you have learned something today.